Hi, everybody. Good evening. It's night number 6, almost to a week. And here we are on page 7. If we are learning Torah only in order to get something from it, then all the Torah in the world will not help us to connect with God. If we are learning Torah only in order to get something from it, then all the Torah in the world will not help us connect with God. Connection with God happens when, through learning Torah and the spiritual practice of mitzvot, we learn to transform from wanting to receive to wanting to give. Connection with God happens when, through learning Torah and the spiritual practice of mitzvot, we learn to transform from wanting to receive to wanting to give. Right? If we're trying to receive from the learning of Torah, receive anything, receive knowledge, receive good credit with God, or points, or afterlife, or high regard, high standing, anything that we're trying to receive, then that Torah or spiritual practice will not help us connect with God. Connecting with God only happens when, through our study and through our spiritual practice, we learn how to transform from wanting to receive to wanting to give. Right? This pinnacle teaching. Transforming the desire to receive to the desire to give, to bestow. We need to develop a sort of sixth sense of spiritual experience that is not limited by what we are experiencing with our 5 regular senses. Pretty cool. We need to develop a sort of sixth sense of spiritual experience that is not limited by what we are experiencing with our 5 regular senses. So essentially this is saying we need a sixth sense. We need something that transcends or is not limited by the experience of our 5 natural senses. That is something else. That is a way to sense reality through a different sense. That is able to sense our experience here on the earth in bodies through a different sense. My understanding of that is the sense of being, a sense that transcends the mind, and it's beyond words. It's beyond, it's trans mind. And that sense is really a sense of presence in which we're able to experience our bodies and our relationship to the world around us in a different way. Does that make sense to people? Do people have a personal experience with that? Is that just sound foreign or fantastical? Please share if you have a question or if you have an experience in relation to this. Okay, page 8. The central point of all the wisdom of the Kabbalah is the connection between spiritual reality and our day-to-day lives. Wow. Again, such a one sentence, and it's got so much juice to it. The central point of all the wisdom of the Kabbalah is the connection between the spiritual reality and our day-to-day lives. Between spiritual reality and our day-to-day lives. This is the central point of all the wisdom of the Kabbalah. So what does this mean? What is it conveying to us? That the main point, the central point of all this wisdom of Kabbalah is the connection between spiritual reality and our day-to-day lives. So it's not about sitting on the mat and having a transcendental experience. It's not about studying and feeling like we know the teachings. It's not about having high experiences. It's not about any of that. It's all about the connection between what we know of as the spiritual realm, spiritual reality, the reality of God, the divine presence, God's light, sacred reality, and our day-to-day lives, how we are living day to day and moment to moment. The connection between those. That's really, in essence, what all of this wisdom is about. It's about helping us to make that connection and to transform our day-to-day lives into spiritual lives. Not going, to synagogue on Shabbat and having a spiritual moment. It's about day-to-day lives, moment-to-moment reality, finding the connection that is a sacred experience. It takes a lot of effort to reach the state in which the suffering in our lives comes from feeling imprisoned by our selfishness and feeling unable to truly love others. We need divine assistance to reach this state, as it is truly beyond our nature. It takes a lot of effort to reach the state in which the suffering in our lives comes from feeling imprisoned by our selfishness and feeling unable to truly love others. We need divine assistance to reach this state, as it is beyond our nature. Okay. Powerful. So it takes a lot of effort to reach a state in which the suffering in our lives, right? To reach a place in our lives where the suffering in our lives is coming from feeling imprisoned by our selfishness, where the suffering that we experience is a product of feeling imprisoned by our selfishness. A state of suffering where I feel that I'm suffering because I feel I'm unable to truly love others. Meaning my longing in my heart and my soul, what motivates me each day, each moment, is to love others, to be able to love, to truly love others, and to transcend my own self-centeredness. That longing has to be so strong to create a suffering when I can't achieve that. Right? That's the only way, right? The suffering comes from when we want to achieve something, but we can't. When we're going and we're longing for something, we long for it with all of our being, and we're not able to attain it. That creates suffering, right? If we want pleasure and we can't attain it, and we're not in a state of pleasure, then we're suffering, right? If we want things to go our way, but they're not, then we're suffering, right? So the desire for the thing is what creates the suffering when we have the lack of that thing. And the last sentence is, we need actually divine assistance to reach this state, because it is beyond our nature, right? It's beyond our nature to long for truly loving others, right? To long for transcending our self-centeredness. It's beyond our nature. And so he's saying that we need divine assistance, which is what prayer is for, right? So prayer is for, even if we don't have the longing in our hearts, if we don't feel it necessarily in a moment, we apologies, we pray for it. We say, please, God, give me the longing to want to transcend my selfishness. Please, God, give me the longing and the ability to long for wanting to love others, to truly love others. We need, in this case, it's saying we need that divine assistance. We need something, and this is what is called grace in many instances. We need some sort of grace to come in to assist us to reach that state of longing, in which then our suffering is experienced in this way. Okay, one more sentence. We need to understand the problem is not other people. The problem is within ourselves. Pretty basic self-help 101 here. We need to understand that the problem is not other people, the problem is within ourselves, right? So many times we want to blame other people for our issues, for our challenges, for our problems, when in fact our problems are coming from within ourselves. Our problems, according to Rav Ashlag, are longing for wanting to receive rather than wanting to give. Our self-centered nature, our confusion about what pleasure really is and what pleasure to long for. So don't blame others. Look within, see where we have the responsibility inside ourselves. Okay, good night, everybody. Have a wonderful sleep. Have a wonderful day. And we'll see you tomorrow night.